Hey guys, what is going on? So it is finally time to give my final review on Turkesterone from Gorilla Minds. I possibly have taken more Turkesterone than anybody on the planet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, but I think I have. And if not, I'm up there. And I've been taking this pretty much nonstop from late November up until pretty recently. So I've basically been prolonging this last bottle because I wanted to prolong this review because I wanted to be a similar level of leanness to kind of compare apples to apples. I think I'm finally there. This is out. Turkesterone's out of stock, so it's time to make the review. So before I get into it, there is a lot of detail. There are a lot of kind of roadblocks that happen. It wasn't entirely like just this very easy to digest thing. There's a lot that I have to explain. I took body scans. I didn't take as many progress pictures. I get so many comments, this is the medium that I like to do, my videos in, to just kind of talk to the camera, right? I got a lot of people saying, oh, you're just, this is BS. You don't have progress pictures. I do take progress pictures. It's just, I've been training since I was 12. I'm 25. There's not drastic differences between pictures. That's just not the case. So I do have pictures for you. There are differences in the pictures, but I think my method of using a body scanner is a little bit more effective in terms of, kind of showing change. And I have a lot more, details in terms of the body scans, but I'm not going to go over every single thing in the video. I'm just kind of going to give an overview. But basically, yeah, I've been lifting for 13 years on and off. I have been stuck at, a bench press, at a lean body mass. I've basically been plateaued for, I don't even know how long. I basically was not really making results. Yes, there was quarantine. I get that, whatever, but basically my results were slowing down significantly, if not just like totally stopped. I'm not saying I was at my natural limit, but I was approaching it, is basically what I'm trying to say. So the results that I show here, I think can really kind of represent what true results would be on Turkesterone. And spoiler alert, I got results. So for all those people who think that you need a progress picture, I have one from before I ever started Turkesterone, and I have one, from the time that I finished it, basically. So this is taken in October of 2020. So I started in November. At this time, I was about 220 pounds. And shortly after this, I actually cycled off creatine just to try creatine HCl for a period. I dropped a little bit of weight. I was on a cut, whatever. I was pretty lean here, but, I've gotten leaner. I don't know if I was like, 13%. It's hard to say, but this is where I was at, in my most kind of recent like Instagram picture prior to taking Turkesterone. And this is my most recent picture taken on June 19th. I was about 217 pounds this day. I might have even, give or take a couple of days, hit like a couple bench PRs on this day as well. So this is like, peak leanness, peak performance. I am currently on a cut. I plan to continue the cut, but this is, roughly similar. Now, if you look here, so I guess I'm a few pounds lighter. I think I'm drastically leaner if you look at like my waist. I've put on a large amount of muscle. I would say, like 6 pounds of lean body mass about, and I will kind of go over those numbers as well. So is that entirely muscle? Did I put on 6 pounds of muscle? I'm not saying that, but I did get significantly stronger. I got stronger, leaner, bigger, everything that you would want. And, my bench press, that was plateaued at 355. I got 375. I probably have 385 in me if I actually had some carbs in my system. But again, I'm on, a cut. This is the leanest that I've ever been. So, I've added 20 pounds to my bench, gotten bigger, everything like that. The main thing I kind of want to focus on, because my main focus was adding muscle when I was on Turkesterone. It was not to get stronger. Now, recently I've kind of shifted gears. I've been lifting heavier as of recent, but pretty much the whole time I was just trying to put on muscle, and I think I really did. I think I made some great gains. And so I'm going to go and show you, these body scans that just kind of compare where I was at. So this is November 17th versus December 16th. So November 17th was the last body scan that I took prior to Turkesterone. So if you look at this, around 13% body fat, my lean mass is a 187. And like I said, I was actually off creatine at this point, and I started my bulk after this. So I think this was like day one when I started my bulk. It was like right after I took this. So My weight realistically was more like 218 if I was on creatine. So my lean mass probably should have been around 190, which is, you know, the highest that it's ever been. And I was basically plateaued at like a 190 lean body mass. There was one point where I was on a very dirty bulk where I got to 191, but I was like obese at the time. So I was like holding on to a lot of water, but my lean mass at a relatively lean physique, 190 is like the highest I've ever gotten it. And I'd been plateaued there. Same thing with my strength numbers. My bench had been plateaued. Everything had been plateaued. I wasn't making progress. Turkesterone just kind of happened. I wasn't even planning on getting it. And then Derek was basically like, this is going to sell out. And so I decided to get it. So this is basically an overview. If you compare these numbers over my first month on Turkesterone, I was also bulking, right? I was bulking on this. But keep in mind, I never gotten past, other than at obese levels, a 190 lean body mass, and the highest I ever got was 191, right? So that's where I was at after a month, right? So a month on Turkesterone, I was taking 4 caps a day. I did not notice anything, okay? This is like, I want to stress this for people who get on, you know, these things and they try it for a month and then they quit. After the first month, I didn't notice anything. So that's where I was at. 190 lean body mass was nothing abnormal. I've gotten to that before, and that's where I was after a month. I didn't get any stronger to my knowledge, even though I was focusing on gaining muscle. So it basically just seemed like it wasn't doing anything. I was just gaining fat and regaining a little bit of water that I had lost from being on creatine. So first month, very disappointing. I continued to get on it. I stayed on it. My next scan. So this is, December 16th. In the next 2 weeks, my lean body mass went up about 3 pounds. So this is when I transitioned into taking 6 capsules a day. And so, after a month, I decided around 6 capsules a day would make sense. I think Derek talked about doing that. I also, and this is very important, I started spacing out my dosages throughout the day because we don't know the half-life of Turkesterone. And this is something that Derek basically said in his video. I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing that. And as soon as I went from 6 capsules, started spacing them out, I started to notice results. And this is basically, gained 3 pounds of lean mass. Yes, I gained 3 pounds of fat. I was bulking at the time. And this is the highest lean mass I had ever achieved by a couple pounds. And I was also significantly lighter than when I was obese, right? So this was very encouraging. I felt like I was starting to get stronger. Again, I wasn't like lifting super heavy. I felt like my shoulders were starting to get bigger. And then we look at January 31st. So a full month later, I add another 3 pounds, right? So basically, I'm just getting way bigger than I've ever been, putting on 6 pounds of lean mass. At 233, I had never been that lean at 233. Not that I was lean, 16%. I wasn't like lean, but I was like, pretty decently, like not that fat. And at this point, for sure, I was getting stronger. My shoulders were exploding specifically. I wasn't even like benching heavy and I was like hitting like PRs. Things were going well, right? And this is pretty much the peak. This is kind of where it starts to turn. So February is when things started to turn because for me, this whole time, I forgot to mention this, quarantine was happening, right? So I work in a restaurant. Restaurants were closed completely and gyms were closed. So I was basically like locked in my house and all I did was like work out and eat. I was just like dedicated to my craft, right? And so I gained 6 pounds of lean mass, got bigger, whatever. And then I started, going back to the gyms. I can't remember when they opened up, but in the beginning, when I started this, I had nothing else to do. And then I went back to work, and February is like the most hectic month. You have Valentine's weekend. I was basically going to work. I was going from like not working at all to working a ton. I started eating bad. Things started to go south in February, and it just wasn't good. So my next most recent scan, and I wish I had more scans, but I basically just was like binge eating. And I had some injuries, and so I actually went off Turkesterone for a bit. So I had this period where I was eating poorly, was injured, and I decided when I was injured and I couldn't move, I had a hip injury. I also had other injuries as well, but I won't get too much into it. Basically, I stopped taking Turkesterone, I stopped lifting, I stopped even walking, right? Because my hip was like immobilizing me. And I basically got to that point where I was like, okay, I need to lower my calories because I was eating like an absolute maniac because I was like getting all this exercise, lifting a lot, building muscle. And so this March 27th here, you see my lean body mass is 188, which is kind of similar to where it was before I started Turkesterone. That is because I was not moving. I was not lifting. I was off turkesterone. Yes, I didn't like lose my gains because of turkesterone. It was because I stopped lifting, right? So got down to 188 here. My weight was 227. I decided, hey, I wanted to hit some crazy bench PRs and like, hit a new 1 rep max on turkesterone. Wanted to be big and beefy and just like lean into the bulk. And during March, I was like, dude, I want to be shredded in the summer. I got to start now. I can't rebuild in bulk for another 3 months or whatever. Like I decided to cut March 27th. And so I started cutting, but I was getting back on turkesterone. And I was also, on ecdysterone as well. So this whole time I was on turkesterone, but I added ecdysterone on my cut, basically. So that whole bulk that I showed, where I kind of maxed out my lean body mass, that was purely turkesterone. Started the cut, started taking ecdysterone, which is basically the same thing. So started cutting, started losing body fat, lost a little fat mass, actually regained muscle. And if you look here, on a cut, I was able to get to 192, which is more lean body mass than I'd ever had at any point prior to turkesterone. So at 227, which is a lower body weight, but I was literally building muscle in a cut because I was like sedentary for a while. So that was April 24th. Fast forward to May 26th, lost even more fat, and then my lean body mass got to 194.3 at the same weight. So I basically just added muscle, lost fat, stayed the same weight. In May 26th, continued to cut. In June 21st, I can't say with 100% accuracy that this 10.5% is accurate, but 195 lean body mass at 218 pounds. And this is basically, saying that turkesterone and ecdysterone allowed me to keep all that muscle that I gained. This is the leanest I'd ever been, and I was able to hit bench PRs. I added 20 pounds onto my bench. Maybe I'm at 30 pounds if I actually were to get some carbs in my system. So, my shoulders are bigger, my chest is bigger, my legs are bigger. I'm stronger, I'm leaner. It's just, everything is good. Like turkesterone works. These are the numbers. And I get that this second half with this cut is a little bit different. I added turkesterone. Things are a little bit different, potentially comparing apples to oranges. But I'm leaner here, I'm stronger, and I'm bigger than when I started turkesterone. And I've been on turkesterone the whole time. And if you compare to where I got in my bulk, where I was 196 pounds of lean body mass, well, that was only on turkesterone, right? And yes, I had been bulking, but I had bulked before. It wasn't my first time bulking. And basically, with all this being said, it seemed like it added maybe like 5-6 pounds of muscle to me while being plateaued for a long time. It added strength to my bench, even though I primarily wasn't even focused on strength. I was focused on building muscle. I added strength to my bench. And even with injuries, even with all this, I still was able to progress at what almost seems to be like an enhanced rate while taking this stuff. And I understand this is like a steroid alternative or a natural compound that you can take to remain natty. And that's kind of what people are looking for. But for somebody like me who was stuck, was plateaued, was not making progress, to see results like this, and I tracked it and I have tangible numbers. And I understand, these body fat percentages, they're estimates. Do I think this 10.5% is legit? No, I was probably somewhere in like the mid 11s. I was probably like a full percent higher than this. Maybe 12% at the max. I don't know, but I'm stronger, bigger, leaner than I've ever been. And I credit that to turkesterone. I credit that to ecdysterone as I've added that. But I just want to say that, I think this works. And, unfortunately, turkesterone is out of stock. I have, talked about my experience with ecdysterone on this channel. I think, it can be potentially a more cost-effective way to get into that. Unfortunately, a lot of those are out of stock as well, but I'm guessing, those tend to restock a little bit more quickly than Derek's turkesterone. But I think it all works, guys. I think it is a legit thing. It's a legit natural alternative. It's not going to give you steroid-like results. Like, it's not going to be like a high dose of anything. I don't know a lot about that, but I've been taking it as a long-term thing. People think you take it for 30 days, whatever. No, like, this is something that you can take for a while. You can reap the benefits over time. And I recommend it. I think it's a great product, whether it's Derek's, whether it's somebody else's. I have found, all the brands that I've tried, I talk about them in my channel, have all been effective. So I just want to, put that out there. I feel like I was probably, I could have been a better lab rat if I didn't get injured and if I wasn't, so volatile in terms of when I started doing certain things. But at the end of the day, I think these results are undeniable. And I just hope that, if people see this and they realize that they can, not go the unnatural route and they can, remain healthy and not be on like HRT for the rest of their life or whatever. I hope that's what this can do. And I hope this can kind of open a door for people who want to take their physique to the next level, but not venture into the dark side. So that's kind of my goal with this. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'll keep you updated and I'll talk to you soon.